ID, call forwarding, call waiting, and call blocking.
I think it's time you cut the blue wire.
Cut the blue wire. Save up to $250 on your phone features with RevVoice. Get RevVoice. Save money.
Coming up tonight on our news.
The Deputy Prime Minister gives an update on PowerSecure. The details are straight ahead.
An LGBTI activist adjusts her views on the gender equality referendum. That story coming up.
The State Minister of National Security says when it comes to crime, the government has met its goal, although he admitted homicide remains an issue.
The recipient of a groundbreaking surgery speaks out about the results. That and more tonight on our news.
To our news, I'm Christina McNeil. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, a former deputy prime minister allegedly intervened after the Bahamas Electricity Corporation's board voted against awarding a second contract to expand BEC's generation capacity to French company Alstom. That and more revealed in the Supreme Court today as the bribery trial of Fred Ramsey continued. Cooperating witness Mark Smith today testified before Justice Bernard Turner, alleging that then Deputy Prime Minister Frank Smith intervened after the board voted against awarding that contract. Smith has been granted immunity from prosecution in the trial of Ramsey, a Free National Movement council member and member of BEC's board. Ramsey is accused of using his board position to feed information to Alstom about competing bids, as well as deliberations of the board in order to make that company's proposals more attractive. Smith testified that after Alstom learned that the board was favoring a Korean company, Alstom removed conditions from its proposal. The court heard that despite removing those conditions, the board still chose Alstom's competitor in a final vote on November 17, 2000. Today it was revealed that Ramsey spoke to Watson about his concerns over the decision, and the then DPM suspended the award of the contract while he conducted an investigation. The jury heard that after the investigation, BEC was told to award the contract to Alstom. The trial continues. Read more about this story in tomorrow's Nassau Guardian. Well, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis, who has ministerial responsibility for Bahamas Power and Light, today confirmed to reporters that the long-awaited business plan of PowerSecure for the state-owned power company has finally been completed. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
Well, we caught up with the DPM today to get the latest on PowerSecure's business plan and the appointment of a new CEO. Take a listen to what he had to say.
They have identified the CEO who should be taking office within the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks. The company now responsible for management of Bahamas Power and Light, the subsidiary of the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, will have its new CEO just a month after its former CEO, Jeff Wallace, resigned for personal reasons. Davis also revealed that after months of waiting, PowerSecure's business plan is complete.
The business plan, I'm advised by the board, has been completed, and they are supposed to be presenting that to me very shortly. They have adopted the plan.
Questions arose over how a management services agreement was signed without a business plan and whether the government was even concerned about PowerSecure's plan, considering a formal one hadn't been presented.
First of all, the whole process to get where we were, to entering into the management services agreement, you had to have some fundamentals of a business plan that one could embrace, or indicative parameters of a business plan that one could embrace. So to say that there was no business plan that was adopted by the government is a misstatement.
He said there were parameters the government looked at before it entered the agreement. So we asked Davis, is the government comfortable with what it's seen so far from PowerSecure?
Yes, I'm satisfied and comfortable with going there. Just check your light bill. Tell me what it is.
For our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Thanks, Kyle. Well, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender activist Erin Green has now decided she will not support Constitutional Bill number 4 in the gender equality referendum. Her comments contradict statements she made minutes after the bills were passed in the House of Assembly. Jasmine Brown reports.
Green says she cannot in good conscience support Bill number 4.
In a Facebook post yesterday, Green shared why she cannot support Bill 4.
She said defining sex as male or female not only makes intersex behaviors invisible, it erases them in the law. Today, Green said she supports the principle of non-discrimination based on sex, but not at the expense of a specific group, particularly the transgender and intersex community.
Fundamentally, I support the exercise. I cannot vote yes to a bill that will disadvantage intersex people, particularly when that bill is specifically about non-discrimination on the basis of sex.
Just last month, Green was in Rawson Square as a part of a group supporting rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Bahamians. At the time, she voiced her support for the bill, saying it would give the community greater rights.
In fact, a yes vote will not impact the existing ban on gay marriage in ordinary legislation. So a yes vote for us means that there is greater space for us to seek recourse under the law in housing issues, employment issues, access to state services like hospital care, police services. These are the things that we are seeking access to.
Bill 4 would make it unconstitutional to discriminate based on sex.
I want to support non-discrimination on the basis of sex, but I cannot support an exercise that is willing, or people that are willing to entrench discrimination on the basis of sex in an exercise to entrench the principle of non-discrimination on the basis of sex. We cannot sit here and say that we are creating a country where no one can be discriminated against on the basis of their sex, except for intersex people.
Green says her decision to object to Bill 4 was not easy.
For me, this is a very problematic experience. My left hand wants to vote yes. My right hand, my heart, my head reminds me that I have an obligation to more than myself. I have an obligation to more than my tight community. I have an obligation to the world to act with integrity.
The gender equality referendum is set for June 7th. The bills will institute full equality between men and women in matters of citizenship. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In other news, government's efforts to reduce crime have been going very well, according to State Minister of National Security Keith Bell, who says government's policies and plans are very effective. Dana Smith reports.
Bell said this Christie administration promised to reduce crime, and it did just that, explaining there have been successes and overall crime is going down, even though murder remains a challenge.
I think that we met our goal. We said that we would reduce crime by 5% every year. We've been doing that. However, because of the number of homicides, which basically when persons hear about whether or not crime is going up or crime is going down, they really measure your success by the homicide rate. And that is one category where we continue to have our challenge.
2015 crime statistics showed an overall 5% decrease in crime, but increases in categories like rape and murder. Bell said the Bahamas continues to be challenged by young men who have a flagrant disregard for life. And although government's effort to reduce crime is going well, it's not something to boast about.
Because when you talk about homicides, where people are actually being shot, persons are actually being maimed, persons are actually losing limbs, persons are actually losing their livelihoods. We are concentrating on the homicides.
But how to stop them? Bell said he'll leave strategy details to the National Security Minister and the Prime Minister, who continue to work with the Commissioner of Police. But for his part, he said he will very shortly recommend a review of the Firearms Act.
These machine guns, they can carry clips of up to 35 rounds of ammunition. And we ought to perhaps restrict the size of the magazines that these weapons can carry. Because right there and then, a person goes in a club, for example, they have a weapon on them, and there is some argument. They pull out a weapon, or there is a drive-by. But when they have a machine gun, and the machine gun is able to carry 35 rounds of ammunition in it, how many people do you think would that will hit? So by restricting the magazine, for example, we may perhaps be able to save lives.
And as high-powered weapons and other firearms are smuggled into the country, Bell said government is going to put further security measures in place to address guns coming in at ports. So far this year, there have been 40 murders. Reporting for Our News, I'm Dana Smith.
After the break, a 23-year-old makes a miraculous recovery after life-changing surgery. Our news has that story and more on the other side of this break.